There comes a point in time for many people where there needs to be some kind of catalyst for change, a calling, I might say. And throughout my time working in the hoods of Atlanta and reflecting on it, but also pursuing education and certifications throughout the process, I've came to a conclusion. That point for me was definitely about 2 years ago, right? I sat down. We got squeak chair going on over here. But I sat down and I planned about 2, 3 years in advance as far as what I wanted education wise, what I wanted, for finances, what did I want to contribute to society, and what did I want to achieve for myself. I've always been wanting. There was a point where I was like, okay, if I'm going to do these certifications, I'm going to start. I started with the Cisco Certified Network Associate. Throughout my time, I was still doing IT work. And at the time, I spent about 3 months and I was watching Jeremy's IT lab like crazy. Man, I was working about 8, 12 hours a day sometimes. But I pushed through. There were many nights where I'm sitting here looking at the configurations or even trying to understand the syntax of what I'm looking at, and I'm just staring in confusion. How do I set up this router? What are the basics of networking? Why do people always say, hey, if you're going to start in security, I want you to learn the fundamentals? I later moved on to the SSCP, and then I chose to do the Security Plus afterwards, and then I pursued the CASP. Those aren't my only, but for the sake of the video, there is an expectation when you join the tech field, right? That expectation is you're updated on the newest information going on, and it's not like medicine where you study for an extended period of time and go through hardship and then you're set. In this field, you got to have it together. You got to have it planned. You got to be up there because, for example, what did we find out about in September? There was a firewall that the Chinese made. We reverse engineered it and saw that they were able to watch their citizens, right? And this isn't like propaganda or anything like this, but we saw the actual schematics of how all this went out. But figuring your personal life, how to budget, hearing people tell you that, hey, you need to do a balance and there's no balance, you know? And it's hard to compete with people who dedicate themselves to this, to going forward, to studying, to education, to going at it like a maniac. And that is the approach I took. Once I learned the demon that you're dealing with, right? What is the hurdle here that's stopping you, right? And mine was time management. I wasn't horrible at it, but there is an expectation you have to take with yourself with budgeting time. You're just going to have to let some things go. Not everything is going to fit into this compact schedule, especially when you have work and then you have classes. How are you balancing the classes? Are you getting help from anybody else? Are you going to join any groups? How are you going to try to connect with people after class? Who's going to be your teacher? There's so many doubts that run through your mind as you're pursuing this thing that you can't feasibly look at just yet. But you know the results are going to be in the future. So, also in the process, I discover I'm like, oh, I have ADHD. I'm like, no wonder. Man, I tell you, once a lot of these things were planned out and I figured out, for example, right? Man, I would watch Jeremy's IT Lab in the car. I was watching Jeremy's IT Lab when I go for lunch, for dinner, after work, during. The way I treat my priorities is like an infection, a disease that has to be killed. There's only so many white blood cells in your body, but they work very hard for your immune system. And I've came to the conclusion that you cannot accept balance. The balance are for people who's already either there or they're not looking to move forward. Because with balance, you also have to know where you're going to give up and where you're also going to gain. But I realized, I was like, man, I got to give up way more than what I'm willing to in order to go forward. At the time, I made a list. I got a paper out. I was like, man, what are you finna give up? How are you trying to go forward? I was like, okay, we're going to cut down the social life. All right, we do that. Okay, sleep. How are we going to work 8-10 hours and then come back and study and then do exams and do assignments? How do we manage and figure ourselves out? And also to do away with hesitation. Hesitation is the mind killer. I love Dune. There's a scene in it where he says fear is the mind killer, and that is the most truest words. And throughout this burnout, when you're feeling fatigued, when you're in self-doubt, when you're in this extensive planning, or you're even in self-realizations about yourself, you have to keep going. You have to keep going. Because whether you believe it or not, that time is going to pass. Those 2-3 years that you could have spent and did your associates is going to pass. That 4 years you could have done during the meantime and got to your bachelor's is going to pass. You also have to protect your energy. With dividing up, blocking off your time and creating schedules. Because I also figured that you need to build your life around systems. Motivation is not enough. Even in the times where you just want to give up, stress is like a globe on your shoulders. You're at the point where you're finna fall over. Your back is caving in. You're not taking care of your health. You're not going to the gym. There's so many things that you slowly let go of in the pursuit of the end goal. And because of that, you're losing. You're losing. You're not getting what you came here to do. And in the long run, you're going to accept it. You're going to be complacent. You're not going to go forward. And your sense of discernment or even esteem about yourself doing more will drop. In this tough job market where people are struggling to find work, you have to keep your head up. There's going to be somebody hiring. There's going to be somebody trying to find you. And you just don't know it yet. You don't know whether they're going to be prepared. You don't know if they're looking for somebody right now. You might be that person. Part of the reasons that I made this channel, despite having classes and then you're at work and you want to go up and work. A lot of people tell you, hey, don't go to school and whatnot. Just get your certifications. I'm like, man, certifications has a expiration date. I'm a big propagator of education, especially now. But I'm going to tell you, there's plenty of people who got jobs, but who has careers, who's being successful. If you can only name only a few people, that's not... I wouldn't hinge my chances on only a few people. You have to keep going. And even in this time where I'm planning of what the next cert is, I already have it planned as far as. But I decided, I was like, man, I need to invest more time. I need to reach out to people who's in my age or wanting more, who's not willing to just accept their situation. There is a thin line between burnout and success, especially in technology. The effort, the time, and everything else that comes with it. I hope you guys have the foresight to keep going forward.